benefit for these programs, but aren't necessarily as easy to measure, are really shifting the community's mindset and the view of both community cats and also the public entities that serve those cats. So it's really key to be able to have that community change of how the public is viewing both cats and the shelter itself. So I mentioned a little bit about the program that I ran in Albuquerque, so just a little bit of background in that. Albuquerque Animal Welfare is the largest municipal shelter in New Mexico. At the time, so in 2012, we were impounding about 25,000 animals per year. Of that number, about 6,600 cats every year were being killed. Every single year, 6,600 cats were coming in. And we would tell people that we were, not that we were proud of that number, but we would tell people that we don't euthanize cats for space. We adopt out all of these healthy and treatable animals, and we work, and that was kind of, I think, the line that we said. And in reality, that wasn't true, because what was happening is we would round up cats in the neighborhood. They would come in from animal control. They would come in from the public that we had loaned traps to. And then we would house those cats, and we would be at capacity. And then what would happen is those cats would get sick. They would get their neighbors sick in that kennel, and then we would medically euthanize them. But what was happening is it was overcrowded. We were euthanizing kittens, litters, year after year after year from the same moms. Those moms are having, every spring, we have 1, 2, 3 litters. Those cats would come into the shelter. But what it wasn't doing is it was not addressing what was happening at a community level. It wasn't addressing the nuisance concerns. It wasn't going out into the community and having those conversations and finding out what is actually happening, what is the problem with these cats. And it wasn't making any sort of difference to the health or welfare of these cats. Again, that cycle was just continuing. And of course, it was using tax dollars to house these cats and then euthanize them. So since that community cat program has started, we've seen a decrease in cats and kittens by about 39%. So our current intake at our shelter is about 17,000 animals. What's interesting is dogs have stayed about the same, but we've seen these dramatic decreases in cats. The number of cats and kittens that we've euthanized since around 2011, 2012 has gone down by 83%. So for a municipal shelter the size of Albuquerque that's taking in tens of thousands of animals per year, to be able to say that we have not euthanized an animal for being feral since 2012 is something I'm super, super proud of. And it's not unique. We see it in communities all across the country that are doing community cat programs and community cat diversion. I took this photo yesterday of the shelter, and I was doing the shelter tour, and I was so amazed to see just this genius idea of repurposing the litter buckets. I've never seen anything like it. I was texting it to everyone at Best Friends, and I'm like, this is a fantastic idea. So this cat looks really grumpy, but he was actually super happy and comfortable in his bucket. So I just thought I would share that because I just thought it was awesome. But I mentioned that we do have some programs in Charlotte and Cleveland County, so I just thought I would share that just because I feel like sometimes Albuquerque can be kind of far off, so I thought I would kind of maybe bring that discussion a little bit closer to home. So Cleveland County and Charlotte, those programs have started around September, October, so they're fairly new. I actually got an update from the rescue coordinator in Cleveland County on Monday, so I thought I would actually just read the email that he sent me. I get these every month. The month of March was another positive step in the right direction for Cleveland County community cats. We spayed and neutered 50 community cats this month, and only 4 cats were euthanized. Total for the month of March, and they were humanely euthanized because of untreatable sickness or injury. I have started trapping in a community trailer park this month, which has been very productive, and not only getting this cat spayed and neutered, but also in community outreach as the people living there come out and talk with me about getting help for their cats. One particular lady has 13 cats, and when I knocked on her door and explained what we were providing, she jumped into my arms and gave me a hug, which is something I never thought would happen when we first started this particular program. I am getting so many requests for the Community Cat program. I have enlisted volunteers to help me trap because I don't want to keep citizens waiting too long for this service. We are doing 6 spay and neuter buses each month, and I am trying to reserve one each month going forward just for community cats. So I thought I would just kind of put this out here on just a survey that Best Friends had commissioned a few years ago. But I travel all across the country visiting shelters and doing these types of presentations. And one of the things that I frequently hear the first time I'm in an area is, our city is different. Our community doesn't like cats. And to be truthful, I have yet to actually see that. What I do see, however, is I see residents who don't have access to services. I don't see solutions that are being given to these residents in a non-judgmental way. And another thing that I don't see is I don't see rescue groups and the public working collaboratively with their shelters. So by and large, people don't want to see these cats die, but what they do want are the nuisance behaviors to be controlled. And I think this is where kind of everyone in this room and the community gets involved. These programs really are all hands on deck. And I think everybody has something that they contribute to making this a community solution to a community problem. This photo here is of our Philadelphia project that we have. They partner with some local rescue groups and as well as with the shelter, and they do these shelter building events every month, and they're pretty well attended. There's probably usually 40 or 50 people that come out. They'll build shelters for their own community cats, or they can build them and then donate them to caregivers. So it's really nice to kind of see everyone working cohesively to solve this problem. Another benefit of these programs is really freeing up resources. There's a kind of a synergy in all of these kind of various components with the return to field and the community outreach. It really frees up bandwidth for the shelter staff to then be able to focus on other areas. So for me, I always feel that community cats are kind of the low-hanging fruit. So then once you're able to kind of solve that problem, then you can kind of work your way up for other more harder to treat items. So for example, in Albuquerque, just this last year, so 6 years down the road of all this work of having those community discussions and all that work of working with animal control, we finally got to the point last year where 2 big things happened, at least for me. We had such a continued decrease in intake that we had catteries that we were no longer using. So we had, they're empty, and they're empty year round. So it's like, what do we do with them? One of our catteries is now a ringworm ward for kittens. We helped about 100 cats and kittens last year through ringworm that we would have never been able to help before. So these community cats were able to help this additional population. Also, these programs aren't just for people who care about cats. I always say that community cats really help dogs too. We've had a large-scale program in Pima County, which is in Tucson, Arizona. And that program, after about a year, we were able to repurpose 2 of our euthanasia techs. One was in cat care and one was in dog care. So again, it helps people, cats, and it also helps dogs and other populations in the shelter as well. I do have a video, if I can hopefully get that to work. This was one that Maddie's Fund and Target Zero had for the HSUS Expo last year.